I got after it this month, so let's talk about what I watched in May. After the aimlessness of April, I really decided to buckle down and I made out a watch plan for myself for May, making sure I went out of my way to hit certain types of films. So I am pleased to present to you a much more substantial report this month. First off, I watched Baby Oopsie. Second, we watched in our Discord, we have a Giallo Discord, link below, we watched together A Dragonfly for Each Corpse. This is from 1975, and it has Erica Blanc and Paul Naschy? I don't know how to say that. I've never tried to say it out loud. This is a Giallo, like a Spanish Giallo, I think, and it was really good. We quite enjoyed it. It was really beautiful to look at. Lots of pretty environments and interior decor, and a substantial body count, and it was just fun. Like, I think that's what I would call a solid installment into the genre. Next, I watched Baby Oopsie 2, but it's not for the reason you think. The reason is my friend came over and she has seen Baby Oopsie 1 with me but hadn't seen Baby Oopsie 2. So she came over and that is what we watched. She has decided to cut back on doom scrolling and instead watch more movies. So I was really excited about that. So yes, in this watch plan I had Giallo, must watch a Giallo, and then disturbing. I want to get back into making sure I hit a disturbing film each month. So for quite a while, Giallo Submarine and I have been kind of talking like, if you watch Necromantic, I'll watch it. Well, ever since we started doing watch parties, we realized we could watch Necromantic together. So that's what we did. We watched Necromantic from 1988. Probably you know what the film is, but if you don't, this is a German film that has quite the reputation because it's about necrophilia. It wasn't quite as disturbing as we thought it would be. There was some gratuitous animal cruelty in the film, but I think aside from that, it was more funny than anything else. However, the ending was quite monumentally disturbing, for sure. So I think the ending earned it its reputation, but when we were going throughout the movie, we were like, oh, this isn't as bad as we thought it would be. There are certain scenes, like the necro scenes, where they put this like goofy romantic piano music over it, so it kind of like takes away that disturbing and just makes it funny instead. Anyway, I'm proud of myself. I finally watched this movie. It was great. It was great to watch with a friend, so it was awesome to watch with Giallo Submarine. Come back to YouTube. Next up was Switchblade Sisters from 1975. And I watched this for the making of my last video, which was about, it was another exploitation sampler. But, so I won't repeat myself too much here, but I loved Switchblade Sisters. Like, I loved it. It was so much fun. It was a teen gang film for anyone that doesn't know. Oh my gosh, I forgot I watched this. Next, Zach and I watched Scream 6. I don't know. I don't know why I don't care. I just don't really care. It was fine. Here's the synopsis I wrote for myself just to help me remember this movie. After the events of Scream 5, two sisters, Boring Girl and Jenna, are now roommates in New York. Boring Girl is all messed up still, and Jenna is just trying to live her life. But suddenly, Ghostface murders begin again, now in New York City. Some of the other unmemorable people who were apparently in Scream 5 are also in New York. That's what I wrote. I don't know, man. It was fine. It was watchable. It was fine. Like, it's not bad like Halloween Kills, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't know why it just doesn't stick in my soul. Oh yes, and the reason I watched Scream 6 is because I'm trying to make sure to watch a modern movie every month. So that was my modern. And next I went for another Giallo because I wasn't going to count a dragonfly for each corpse because I didn't actually pick it. So I went and picked out my own Giallo, and I picked Night of Violence from 1965. This is an early Giallo, a black and white Giallo. It didn't really like pack a punch, but it was pretty watchable, and it had like a fun twist ending and everything. So I thought it was pretty cool. These aren't the type of Jolly that I'm gonna like reach for and come back to, but I wasn't mad at it. Also for this month, I made sure to watch at least one full moon movie that I haven't seen. So Zach and I watched Subspecies 2, Bloodstone, from 1993. And they recast the girl. And so that was a little bit confusing, but once you got used to it, it was pretty cool. This film wasn't so much about the characters themselves, but more about the overall story. It was really atmospheric, beautiful, you know, vampire shit, and it was fun. Another category I created for myself was to make sure I watch a DVD that I own that I haven't watched yet. So I watched She Killed in Ecstasy from 1971. This is a Jess Franco film, and Brian sent this to me on DVD a while ago, and I haven't watched it. But I've always been interested because the cover is beautiful and the title is great. And when you read the back of the DVD, it's pretty much just praising the lead actress, Soledad Miranda. And that's pretty much all it's said about the movie. And now that I've watched the movie, I understand. She is the movie. She carries the movie. She is why you're watching the movie. The movie itself isn't spectacular or anything, but Soledad is amazing. She's beautiful. It's just really cool to watch her on screen. And this is a revenge movie, so it is satisfying to watch this revenge enacted. But it definitely had this like low budget. It had limitations. You could tell that it had limitations. So the ending was very like anticlimactic, we'll just say that. And my husband watched the ending with me and he was like, "That's the ending?" Next, you will be pleased to know that I am making it a point to watch a Hammer film every month. So I chose Vampire Circus from 1972, and this was recommended by Nachinti. Did I say that right? I watched this on YouTube, so it wasn't the best quality, but this was quite a weird film. It's like a period piece, so we have this peasant village, this like very rural village, basically executed a vampire, and 15 years later this circus comes to town. It sounds so weird. And it is related to that vampire execution, we'll say. It was okay. It was okay. I mean, I like vampires, I like circuses, so I just didn't really like there was no, the characters, again, kind of like Subspecies 2, the characters just didn't matter. These are all just like disposable, meaningless characters, and I guess I kind of prefer to have people I can attach to. Next up, I wasn't intending to do this month with such a quick turnaround, but Giallo Submarine, he just loved Necromantic so much, he was like, we have to watch Necromantic 2 immediately. So we went for Necromantic 2 in 1991. This was quite different from part 1 in a lot of ways. It was a lot more colorful, a lot more of a clear and crisp picture. And I would say I probably liked this one a little more. It might be because while Necromantic 1 was focused on a male protagonist, this one is focused on a female protagonist. Although I think this one was probably a bit slower. It was still really fun, really gross, and the ending was also really, really disturbing. Like, the endings of these movies, man, like, just stay with you. Next, for the last video I made, I watched Spider Baby 1967. This was part of my Exploitation sampler. I loved Spider Baby. I loved it. Like, I can't wait to watch it again. And if you love Spider Baby, you should check out my last video because I have some news. At the end of my Spider Baby segment, some news that you may not know. I watched Big Doll House from 1971, Women in Prison, Jack Hill, Pam Grier. It was really good, really fun. As part of my monthly plan, I decided I would hit 5 exploitation films that had been recommended to me, and that was to make my exploitation film video. So that's why I went so hard on the exploitation. I watched Darktown Strutters from 1975. It was not for me. This was a very off-the-wall blaxploitation that combined a whole lot of other genres, and it was just too weird. I watched Sister Street Fighter from 1974, a martial arts film that was pretty straightforward, but worth it for the fight scenes. I feel like I'm blasting through these because I don't want this video to run too long. Hopefully my pace is okay. For our Giallo watch party that next week, it was my pick. I got to pick what Giallo we watched, and I was like kind of nervous because I didn't want to pick one that was too standard and too popular, but I also didn't want to pick one that was too obscure that everybody would hate. So I decided to go with So Sweet So Dead from 1972. And upon revisiting this film, I always have it like on this pedestal in my mind. But upon revisiting, I can see why some people don't like it. It does not have a lot to offer in terms of like style or pizzazz. I mean, except for that beach scene, right? But I think the story itself is really good and the cast is fantastic, and that's probably the appeal for me for this movie, because it definitely is not like dazzling for the eyes or anything, but it went over really well. Some of the folks in the Discord hadn't seen it yet, so we had a good time. This is where I will stop and say, if you don't know what Discord is, it's kind of like a group chat, and Giallo Submarine here on YouTube and I started a Discord where we talk about Giallo, cannibal films, horror films, polizioteschi, just like mostly Italian stuff, but we talk about a few other things too. So feel free to join. I'll have it linked below. Another category I made for myself was to watch a Lifetime movie. And I know like that's not my audience, but you gotta think about it. Lifetime movies are shitty exploitation films, basically, when you think about it, right? So this wasn't a Lifetime movie, but when I was on Hulu, I saw this, no, Tubi. When I was on Tubi, I saw this Tubi original called Blood, Sweat, and Cheer from 2023. And it looked a lot like a Lifetime movie. I'm pretty sure this is like Tubi's attempt at a Lifetime movie. So it's about this mom who, she's too overbearing. She's a cheer mom and she's too overbearing, so her daughter's like, I'm quitting cheer and I'm moving to my dad's house. So then the mom's left all alone and she decides she's going to impersonate a high schooler and she's gonna try to get her chance to win like the cheerleading championship or whatever. It's just I'm not gonna go into it too much. I'm gonna slow my roll here. It was okay. Next, I watched Baby Oopsie. I mean, what do you guys watch when you're sick in bed or something? What do you watch? Because I watch Baby Oopsie. Next, I made another like tentative category for myself. Follow an actor. So follow an actor you like and watch a movie that they're in that you haven't seen yet. So I technically could say I followed Paul Naschy to Horror Rises from the Tomb 1973, which is also a DVD I own that I hadn't seen yet. This came from Brian. I kept calling this a vampire movie, but I guess it's not really a vampire movie. It's more of like a just like a supernatural horror. And I really, really liked the setup here. I loved the premise setting and the setup, just like us basically the beginnings of the film I really liked, but I feel like it kind of trailed off at the end, but it was still a real atmospheric, moody, just fun little film. So to use the term again, I'm not mad at it. Next, I just picked up another DVD I own that I hadn't seen yet. And so I watched Angel from 1984. This is like a little bit out there. I don't know. I didn't know what this movie was, okay? Brian sent this to me on DVD, and all I knew was it was something about a schoolgirl by day, prostitute by night. And I was like, I don't know what I'm about to watch, but let's do this. This was a really, really interesting film. First of all, they handle this teen prostitute subject matter pretty tastefully, I would say. It's a very like heartwarming film, but it also has like some action and some horror elements to it. But I think what stands out the most is the colorful cast of characters and like the comedy that goes along with it. But I really, really loved Angel. I thought it was awesome. If you have seen it, you get it probably. Wow, it just keeps going. Okay, so next, I recently signed up on Letterboxd to get notifications when a movie that's on my watch list has become available for streaming. So I got a notification that this movie called Poison for the Fairies from 1986 had become available. I don't know why Poison from the Fairies was on my watch list. It probably has something to do with Don't Deliver Us from Evil and the fact I loved that movie so much. So I just like read the synopsis of Poison for the Fairies and I was like, this sounds kick-ass. So I pushed play. This is a Mexican film and it calls itself a supernatural horror, but I would disagree. I don't want to spoil anything really, but I did not like this movie. I was pretty pissed about it because I was super excited for it. First of all, it's about like little girls. I thought it would be about like teenagers, you know, like as in Don't Deliver Us from Evil, but this is like two 10-year-olds, two 5th graders or something. And it's really, I don't know, it's more like a bullying movie. I was just pissed. Now, while the ending was pretty dark and that was cool, this movie had nothing to give me. This movie gave nothing. Speaking of giving nothing, I also followed the Letterboxd notif that Revenge of the Cheerleaders was available. This is a 1976 movie and apparently it's a sequel to the Cheerleaders, I think, which I haven't seen, but I decided to go for Revenge of the Cheerleaders. I don't know why it was on my watch list. I found out it's because it has Rainbow Smith in it and I just thought it might be as good as the Swinging Cheerleaders, but girl, it was not. So I gave this movie half of a star. I can't believe I watched the whole thing, but I couldn't log it unless I watched the whole thing. It was just pure trash. As I said in my review, there are plenty of other ways to get full frontal nudity that are better than this. Crap, I just keep going. Okay, next, I followed an actor. I followed Rick Genasi from Fatal Frames. For the movie he's most famous for, I think, which is Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD from 1990. This is a Troma film. It might be my first Troma film, and I don't know much about Troma whatsoever. This is another film that Letterboxd alerted me to it being available. And it's like a comedy, y'all. It's like a superhero comedy, but a bonkers one. Like, not one that's meant to be taken seriously in any way. But surprisingly, it was pretty good and really watchable and 100% worth it if you love Rick Genasi as much as me. If you do, can we be friends? Let me know. Because I just feel like I'm all alone in my worship of him. So yes, I know this film could be like kind of appropriating, but with that aside, it was fun. It was fun. Now there is a very out of place rape scene, which is weird for a comedy, but okay. But other than that, I was like, I was in it. I was enjoying it. And it was really fun to see Rick Genasi. I've seen him in a sci-fi and in a Giallo, but it was cool to see him in a comedy because I really feel like that's his comfort zone. Like, it seemed like that was where his acting was the strongest. Funnily enough, it's 6 years before Fatal Frames came out, and yet he seems like a better actor in Kabuki Man. Anyway, if you want to talk about Kabuki Man, let's do that. I won't linger on it here. And the next watch party was chosen by the Count on our Discord, and we watched The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock from 1962. This was a Gothic selection featuring Barbara Steele, one of our Italian queens. And despite its early age, this film was quite spooky, creepy, with some extra spicy themes. This was a great one. I guess I need to keep a running list of like best Halloween spooky ambience movies, because this would definitely be a good Halloween movie for sure. It was very spooky. Next, we were painting. We were painting the freaking ceiling all last weekend. It was terrible. So we watched a bunch of rewatches. Fatal Frames, Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, Enigma 1987, Fulci's Enigma, Easy A, and Mean Girls. Easy A and Mean Girls, like, I don't watch a lot of comedies, but those two are very close to my heart. And I liked Angel so much that I just wanted to go ahead and go in on Angel 2, aka Avenging Angel. This is a 1985 film. First of all, they recast Angel, and that messed me up a little bit, but now I understand why they did it. It makes sense. I read the booklet. I didn't really like the new Angel. I mean, she was hot, but her acting was just kind of blah. But we did get a lot of the lovable, colorful street people from the last movie returning for this one. So that's really what made it worth it. It wasn't quite as like action as I thought it would be, but it was good. And freaking finally, I rewatched Footprints on the Moon, the 1975 Giallo, which I don't really see how it's a Giallo if we're being honest. I watched it to potentially be a part of a future video here for YouTube, but I also wanted to watch it again to like try to understand it. I wouldn't say I understand it any better. I need to like talk about this movie with those of you who have seen it. I need to talk about it in private. So yes, I watched I think I watched 31 movies. So I got real busy for y'all, and I hope to continue to have like well-balanced reports for you now that I'm making like goals for myself, like making sure I watch Disturbing, Hammer, Giallo, Full Moon, all that kind of stuff. So I hope you guys are still liking these videos. Sometimes it seems like it's getting like repetitive. Like every fourth video of mine is what I watch. This is why I used to do it once every 2 months, but hopefully you still like these, especially ones like this where I'm just having to like skim through them really quick. But as always, let me know what you've been up to this month, what you watched and loved or hated. I will see you in the next video. Ciao!